what kind of skill set you think are desirable so that the workforce is ready and the feed which you get from the B schools or any academic institution, they are catering to this purpose. Because purpose is one, right? B schools are not independently doing something. B schools are also supporting the same ecosystem, because the mindset creation cannot happen in the industry. Mindset creation happens right in the training at the 2 years when we are grooming the minds. Then what kind of sincerity, what kind of commitment we are inducing in their mind when they are going through this kind of training there. Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's a
key three skills maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the first point I would like to make is that there is nothing now, that is nothing. Technology is not a standalone thing. I think the first skill that any that B schools or any academic institution, right from small kids, should be incorporated in is a orientation towards technology. In fact, Satya Nadella was in Mumbai recently, earlier this week, and the fact that he made this point that coding is absolute must-have for any person, because today technology is not a, I mean, with due respect to a lot of people who feel otherwise, technology is not an enabler. Technology is the way of working. Just as we get up in the morning, follow a certain habit, it's the same thing about technology. So I think the first skill that employees of tomorrow need is not familiarity, but almost immersiveness in technology, because that is something that will keep changing. And if you are on that, so for instance, if you look at an example of, say, Facebook, and very few people know that Facebook, and I'm sure many people know, but I think if you have, I don't know whether you realize the transitions. Facebook has gone from, in the last 6-7 years, has gone through 6 or 7 different major upgrades in terms of what incrementally it can do. And the beautiful thing is that within a matter of 30 days, 70% of its 3 billion or 2 billion people who have downloaded Facebook actually adapt it and actually try that out, which means that technology no longer is a barrier that kind of people. So I think the first point that I would like to make is that I think we have to remove that misconception of IT or technology or AI or whatever being a distinct function or a distinct way of working, a distinct part of the business. So I think the first skill people need to know is immersive technology orientation. Second skill, I think, was mentioned, and I think it was much more evident in Ms. Bahuguna's fireside chat, was adaptability. I think that if you have a core immersiveness in technology, and you are adapted at an early stage of your career and during your academic session, by giving you more difficult assignments up front. In the beginning, I think GSK and Levers and all had a beautiful, initially they had they still have, many of them still have, of putting the brightest kids in your sales jobs, because that's where you could learn the realities of the marketplace. Now today, a lot of it happens just the opposite way, whereas the IMA, B, C, L, FMS, these grads go and dream of becoming a CEO by becoming the executive assistants. Now it's come completely full circle. So I think the second skill that people need to of tomorrow is going to be adaptability, because please don't forget that tomorrow there won't be as many jobs created as are people, and therefore most of the people will have to do work by themselves. And because to do that, to make that transition at the age of 40, 50, 55, 60, when everyone suddenly becomes an entrepreneur, it's very, very difficult for people who've come through the entitled route. So I think the second skill that people need to be taught is adaptability. And the third point I would like to make, and again, I'm quoting again Ms. Bahuguna for that, so sorry about it. I think leadership, and I'm of the school of thought which says that leadership is not so much about trying to make a grand speech. It's about making small innovations in an area of your own choosing and in an area where you are currently operated. So I think that leadership skill, at least the basic ones, have to be taught. Because, like I said, telecom sales folks of 2020 are irrelevant today because the whole market is completely different. And so forth. There are multiple such examples. But if you have had an experience of building small businesses through innovation, through making people change, I mean, the same thing can actually be carried forward in multiple ways. So these are the 3 points that I would think.
Thank you. Can I hear from Mr. Arun now, that what kind of skill set you have in mind? Because I may generate some good basket here.
So I think one side which was mentioned by Mrs. Arun Bagona was, moving out of comfort zone. A lot of people, management graduates, they want this tech. I want to be in strategy. Okay, I'll go for 3 months of orientation field just because that's the in thing. But how do you move out of comfort zone? Trying to do things which are not your core area, because at age initial 10, 15 years, you can learn skills, new attributes. After an age, you cannot do it. So how do you move out of comfort zone? The second, which is a very odd quality, is shedding something, arrogance. A lot of people who come from good management institutes, they believe they are the avatars which have been sent down to ground, And if you've seen, I don't want to take names, the number of CEOs who have to bite the dust in the last 1 year, highly intelligent people, highly focused people, but they get into these delusions of grandeur, out of touch with reality. And then they do blunders which even a small trainee will not do. So how do you, in a long term, how do you incorporate the quality of being grounded, having humility, still being open-minded and being assertive? So a lot of people may say they're conflicting attributes, you're being assertive. That's why I'm saying assertive, not aggressive. Assertive, open-minded, grounded. These are attributes which will be important. And the fourth thing is, you do not know everything. How do you reach out to people? How do you are able to pick the brains of people? How do you able to motivate them? How do you able to inspire them? And you don't know what they require. And as he mentioned, that young generation is all about aspirations. But aspiration need to be also linked to somewhere reality. Because if aspirations have no touch with reality, then you'll have a great crash. This is a time when we're talking young generations, because today age has ceased to be a factor. I can't say that I have 35 years experience, so I should be forward, because I should have more ideas. As somebody, a new management trainee mentioned to us, you have 35 years experience, it can be 1 year experience rolled into 35 times, or it can be a 35 years experience. So that's an important part. And I think cooperation, collaboration is the key at this point of time. Today you cannot, in organizations, you cannot exist as an independent or as an island. You need to collaborate and cooperate. And openness mind, as you mentioned, technology is not something, technology will be a leveler. Everybody will have it. So if you're able to combine these attributes, and you're able to listen, and you're able to change with times, but with basic values, which will always remain permanent, those are still ingrained, you will emerge much stronger and a much better person, for your organization and for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to create a little bit of controversy.
Yeah.
Talking about technology, I have no issues. Yesterday, Ms. Suresh Narayan was quoting, just go back to the same thing. What Sony did to Kodak, Apple did to Sony. I think he was quoting in a different sense. Kodak had all the technology, all the knowledge with them. They didn't go to digital. So who is responsible for it? Ultimately, it's the leadership. It is the people who has done it. So I go a little bit of different slant here, saying technology is very important. It's order of the day. As you said, speed of change is much faster. Earlier, if a decade means 10 years, business plans are 10 years, then we came to 5 years. Today, we are talking about half-yearly, quarterly review. Those are the realities of life. It accelerated the change, so people have to adopt it quickly. But it is not something, which you can't say. I agree with you, Arunji, when you said, yes, ultimately innovation. GSK had one fundamental principle. Everyone committed, everyone contributing. I think sometimes what happens is, you said share of voice, okay? Point is that as a leader, he said, what I say is the right thing, please innovate. And most of the tribe people follow him because this is a hint coming from the leader. But the fact remains, GSK said everyone committed, everyone contributing. Just to collaborate with what both of you said, a drug discovery can happen through an R&D scientist, ultimately gets a credit. The guy got a Nobel Prize for penicillin. But there are 10,000 people who was involved in it. But if you say, I'm the guy, I have done it because I'm knowledgeable, most of the leaders, sometimes you say, some of them, because of the share voice, they don't allow others to listen that active listening. In the process, you may lose many ideas. So the culture, the creativity and enabling culture, which respects everybody at the different levels. This is the greatest culture value of GSK. Everyone committed, everyone contributed. It is not that only the specialist R&D guys can do it, even others can do it. Secondly, as a leader, you need to understand, one of the things which I learned it was, my boss said, try to get best out of everything. I'm just saying a transformation change of a culture. The CEO, the way he did it, he gave it to HR to facilitate. He called the marketing guy. He said, can you please do a posters to communicate to the people? I'm talking about the 80s. It's a big change in M&A. He said, we all questioned them. Why do you call marketing guys? You see, we are FMCG. Not expert. They know how to sell it to outsiders. We need to sell it to the internal customers. Start from in, then go and succeed outside. Outside in view is perspective, but then he said, let us call the corporate communication guy. How to draft the messages. I think, these are a couple of, I just want to give you one example, 80s, 82, when we were doing a transformation change, then the marketing guy came with the scene, Shadra cricket grounds, 84. He said, innovation, how to tell the people in the factories who are at the time semi-literate. I said, this is a desert where they created a cricket ground because the customers are Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. So this is the innovation they brought. So this helped when we changed from a metal cap to plastic cap. We have ensured everybody gives their ideas. Sometimes leaders dismantle it thinking you don't know. The plastic cap message came from a worker, not from an R&D. So I think one of the things, apart from technology and all that, try to get best out of everybody. As a DGP, sometimes a constable or a head constable may be able to give, similarly a factory worker. So when you say everyone committed, everyone contributing, it makes a sense. Different strokes for different people. I think, last but not the least, I think, when you're doing these sort of innovations, what GSK taught us, apart from all cognitive ability, communication, coding, which is the Deloitte survey also said, organizational savvy. I think, you need to, there's no point in saying this is the best way to succeed, but depending on the context, you need to change who are your customers, who are your managers, that also makes a difference. So I think this is my view on this aspect.
Okay.
One just thing I wanted to add what Mr. Dwarkanath said. When we look at balance sheets, sometimes the problem is we get too fascinated by numbers, figures, technology. What you look at the balance sheet, you look at assets, land, building, capital, but the biggest assets are the liabilities, which can be either they are the employees, or they are dealers, or they are vendors, or they are customers. Because if you don't have them in the balance sheet in the right manner, in the right side, you will lose out. And the other thing which I was saying, which I heard from him, is you cannot rest on past laurels. That's another biggest challenge. In Mahabharata, if you go, Pritamji, correct me if I go wrong somewhere because you're expert on Mahabharata. There were 3 cities: Khandavprasth, Indraprasth, or Hastinapur. Hastinapur was the real, living on its glory, all kingdom. Khandavprasth was a barren land given to the Pandavas. Ki jaiya 5 gaon le lo. This is the barren land. And they converted with their hard work and focus the Khandavprasth into Indraprasth, which we are still sitting in Delhi. And Hastinapur just deteriorated. So you can't live on past glory. One of the biggest challenges today is people who are living in past glory. And if you don't innovate, you try to copy the same thing again, it doesn't work. The context changes, the scenario changes, the mindset changes, expectation changes. Ramesh Sippy made Sholay. It was a super hit. He made Shaan 4 years after that with better technology, better sets, more actors, more action. It flopped.